morning. I am Priscilla Dames. I am on the board of the Women's Fund of Miami. Um, just a little bit about me. My background is a trainer, conflict resolution, and an educator, grades primary through university level. And I've been very involved with training and conflict resolution um, for 40 years, which is a long time. And I'm saying that on purpose because where I am in life right now is very important to me, and that's going to be the basis of how I answer the questions. Um, my relationship with the Women's Fund is kind of interesting because um, before me being on the board, I had already gone to a couple of their collaboratives. I also attended the Power of the Purse, and it was exciting just to know there was a group so powerful that was out there in Miami-Dade. And initially I thought, oh my, uh, where has this group been and what have they been doing? I need to know about it. However, I've been extremely active in Miami-Dade County and have done quite a bit of international work in conflict resolution for a long, long time. And so my hands have been very, very full doing what I needed to do in my own shoes, having to do with conflict resolution. Um, it's interesting, and the reason I said where I am in life, I think that kind of decides my focus at this point. Since I'm going to be 70 this year, I've kind of taken a couple of steps back to just to reflect and think about, am I fulfilling my purpose, and am I getting in what I need but also want to for myself, because there is less time ahead of me than behind me, and I have had such a blessed life, which I think is part of it too. But I want to make sure that number one, I am fulfilling my God's given purpose in life as I go forward. And I don't want to be one of those that on my deathbed and say, woulda, coulda, shoulda. So it's important, it's very, very important to me that I'm very focused and fulfilling my time with things that are important to me and getting out of life what I need to, including that self-care. And that kind of leads me to the Women's Fund, because I have WOW Wings on Women, which is a component of my own business. And I've done quite a few things having to do with women in the past, including skydiving for women's issues, jumping out of a plane. And I just thank the senators who jumped with me. And so, but they all had to have one of the women's issues as a focus of why they jumped. And now I'm doing something international having to do with women's issues too. But as I step back from some of the advocacy that I've had in Miami-Dade County, the pandemic that is just passing, hopefully it is coming to an end this year, it was good for me in my own shoes because it made me be still and think. And I decided that I have been so busy being Priscilla and doing what I do that perhaps a Woman's Fund came along at the right time for me. I was familiar with it a few years ago, but the Women's Fund sort of resurfaced about a year ago. And Deanne Conley Graham, Maria were two of the people that approached me about it. And it was interesting because at that time and space in my life, my husband and I had three declining parents. And that was very important to us because um, his parents live in one place, mine live in another state, and we live here in Florida, which is another state. So we were traveling quite a bit, even though it was in the midst of COVID, um, caretaking for them and just seeing them, and of course, being concerned about COVID. And so I did let Maria know that this is really not a great time for me to join anybody's board because of those three parents. And I'm pretty sure I put it in writing. And Maria, who is a wonderful leader, very empathetic, um, she just has a good heart, said to me, "How much time would you need?" And I didn't know, but I said probably 3 months, 3 or 4 months, because one of the parents were very quickly declining. And so I ended up taking 5 months, and one of them did pass. The other two are still declining, but one of them at least was in a better place than she is a year ago. So two of them are still with us, and we're blessed because we're talking about 90 to 93-year-olds. But I was surprised that she waited and came back to me a couple of times and asked me, how are my parents? And I told her, and I was ready because you can get so engulfed in that things are just so heavy and so negative. So I did become active about a year ago, and I've been very, very pleased with what I've seen. Now I'm going through a serious transition and transformation myself, having to do with health care, self-care, and my business. So I'm trying to realign things so I can be more active on the Women's Fund. Um, its mission really speaks to me. It's very, very important. And the four pillars, they actually lend themselves to some of what I was doing, including the international piece. So when you talk about getting rid of personal violence and being in a violent space for women, that is so big. That is so big. So with that being one of the pillars, and I'm a conflict resolution trainer, that really does speak to me. And being an advocate, I'm on the advocacy committee. Being an advocate, being an advocate is part of who I am. But that particular pillar is so very important. And how could you be in the midst of and living with violence and that not interfere and be so closely connected with the other three pillars? So when you talk about well-being, mentally, physically, spiritually, if I'm in a violent spot domestically, that is well-being. And all of the others, I think this, even the economic mobility, if I'm being paid more money and I'm in a spot that my daily life is one of violence, it's still going to affect me no matter what I do and say and how much money I have. However, we are aware that so many people, so many women stay in a domestic violence situation because of their children and because they don't have enough money to leave, to go. What are they going to do? So even though I think that's at the top layer, and that's like an umbrella, all of those others, the other pillars are so important. Let's see. I think one of the things that are important to me is like finding a tribe. It's interesting that I told my husband several years ago that you need to get a life. You're all up in my Kool-Aid. And it's interesting because of COVID, um, I was truly still. No one came to my home for 2 full years. And I was extremely careful. I don't think anyone's had um, more tests than the two of us because of our parents. But it's interesting too that just a little bit ago, I said to him, I know what's wrong with me. I haven't been around women. The women speak to me. The camaraderie is very different than your spouse or your family, which I don't even have any more family here except my husband. But even going back and forth and visiting his family and my family because of those three declining parents, it's not the same thing as being surrounded by women and just the camaraderie. Finding a tribe is very important to me. I love the energy of this group. I love the focus of this group. Arthi is a wonderful leader, and I've seen her um, practice her skill of training. She is so targeted and so focused. She is wonderful. Maria is very different in that she's like the one that's going to put her arms around you and be empathetic. And I think that combination is so powerful for this group. Both of them are like this as far as getting things done. And I think the leadership of the Women's Fund is what is going to push it forward to a whole nother level of focus, activity, and advocacy as far as getting things done for women in Miami-Dade. But I can see it growing much, much more than that. My base is in Miami-Dade County, and that's where I've been active for 40 years, but now I do live in Broward. But I could see them growing and extending those pillars much further than Miami-Dade County, though there's plenty to do there. And so just having that woman's focus, which is very important to me, and having that tribe is extremely important to me. When I attended the Power of the Purse just a couple of weeks ago, I felt it there too. So many people came to my table that I did not have enough time to go visiting throughout the room. So it's a good thing we had that networking time before. But then just seeing the members up on the stage and us clapping for our new judge, Judge Brown, for the Supreme Court. It was also powerful just being in a room with that many women itself that just springboarded me to just be even more excited about being a part of the Women's Fund. I could see this mission, long run, extending themselves to doing not only our focus with the 4 pillars now, but the advocacy I know is going to grow outside of Miami-Dade County. We have had so many members in the past, as I meet them, that have been very, very active and lobbyists in Tallahassee. So I can see the Women's Fund extending their tentacles way outside of Miami-Dade, as we're already doing, but I just see that growing more and more and more. I don't see us confining ourselves at all. We've got wonderful board members, and I'm just so impressed with the Women's Fund. And I just thank you very much for this interview and letting me talk. And I'm just glad to be part of such a powerful group and such a focused group of women. Thank you.